It only feels like yesterday since Gear 5th was actually added into the story of One Piece. It kind of has this phase that I would like to call the dominating phase, where of course the protagonist is nice and he running all kinds of fades on the antagonist or whoever he fighting at that point in time. Once that's done, it gets to its climax. Not that type of climax, but yeah. It reaches its peak. Yep, definitely not helping. And then gradually starts to decline. Gear 5 still dominates and it's clearly still running fades. But I'm very much aware that we are more than smart enough to understand that this will not last forever. And considering the opponents that we have, the rest of the world government, and I'm really talking Admiral and above, the Gorosei and Imu-sama, who at this point was still pretty much trying to determine whether it's a he, a she, or a... Now, I'm not here to pick apart in terms of who, what, when, where, and how Imu actually is. Or what Imu actually is. Basically, we don't know who he is. Or she. But one thing I definitely know is that in order for Luffy to go toe-to-toe with Imu, Gear 5th will not be enough. Well, at least Gear 5th alone. The Straw Hats have at least one more power-up to go through before they go for the biggest fights of their lives. I mean, we all know Roanoa, he gonna have his Black Blade, permanent imbuement, and you know, Sanji probably gonna get some more German enhancement, so he gonna understand his abilities a little more. No shade though, no shade though. But the question is, what does that actually look like for Luffy? Before we get into it, I'm gonna need y'all to hit that like button and that subscribe button and join the notification gang. Please and thank you. Gear 5th at this point has been exemplary and I've enjoyed every moment of it. But I think we all know it will not be enough to take Imu down. Well, at least not alone. Haki stands at the pinnacle, said by a man who held a Haki fist straight to the jaw. And I'm pretty sure was on par with the size of the moon, but you know, or anime show and tell. Zoro's power-up almost kind of reminds me of a situation of, if you can't beat him, join him. Now, the most common trait of all of Zoro's opponents are that they're black. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's just call it a objective observation. Now, obviously, he can't actually be black himself. It is 2025. Well, maybe he can be.
I beg your pardon?
Actually, no, he can. Just had divine intervention, so you know, came back to my senses there. Haha. So of course he can. Not. But the closest thing he could do is actually make his swords black, or make his sword black. I mean, not that sword, but like. Come on, bro. What was my point again? Haki. Yes, Haki. Yes, there won't be a Gear 6, considering Gear 5 is actually Luffy's peak. But you never know. Haki is the best way forward, considering the rest of the ops Luffy has to deal with, or the Straw Hats, or let's just call him the good guy, for the sake of the video. Luffy is the Joy Boy of today. And of course, in order for him to become the Joy Boy of today... Wait, Well, turns out the mic's out. So, you know, I'm gonna have to acapella this joint. So in order for Luffy to basically become the Joy Boy of today, well, his Haki will also have to be on par with the of the Joy Boy of yesterday, or way back then. Not gonna lie, this kind of feels weird not holding my mic. Let's get the mic back. Now, I would love to speculate about this in regards to how this would look for Luffy developing his Haki beyond what it is now in a more visual sense in terms of what it would actually look like. But let's be real, this is Oda. Anything is possible. When we was out here speculating about Gear 5th, I was so sure that it was gonna be some sort of resin ability. Bro literally went back to the Looney Tunes. At this point in time, I wouldn't even be surprised if he took inspiration from Waynehead. Look that up. But I think generally speaking, it would probably be an overall better mastery of Haki and maybe also better mastery of his Devil Fruit abilities. Like, as you can see now, he's a lot more hybrid with his techniques. So he doesn't actually have to go into the full transformation in order to use Gear 4 techniques. And at this point, if that's where this is going, whoo, that stamina issue ain't gonna be an issue. Personally, Oda could add another chain of command to the Haki tier. Like, for example, Shanks. He was known as the observation Haki killer. That man is cut different. Each time Luffy's received some sort of power-up, there usually seems to be a teacher associated with it. So, you know, within the time skip, it was Rayleigh who gave Luffy the understanding of the Haki basics in terms of armament. Well, kings you can't train, you either have it or you don't, and observation Haki. By the time we got to Wano, of course, Luffy had to develop his Haki even further through Ryo Hyogoro. Oh, that is such a mouthful. Although Luffy has had teachers retrospectively, Oda has taught Luffy some Haki through an old-fashioned fade. Considering Katakuri and Kaido, Kaido is a person who Luffy learned the strongest Haki from, and despite the fact that Luffy had actually, well, he was canonically dead momentarily, I would argue that Luffy caught the worst fade. I mean, he learned Future Sight from it, but sometimes, you know, when you sit there and think, do the ends justify the means? Like, does catching a fade that bad justify you learning observation Haki or Future Sight as a byproduct of that? Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I saw him catch such a fade that even I sat there and thought, man, I know in reality they can't feel nothing, but god dang, that's a oof, that's a rough fade right there. Bro was going through it. It's funny because Whole Cake Island happened right after Zou. And I mean, Zou was one of those transition arcs. I mean, nothing crazy happened. It was kind of like, all right, meet up, then break up and split up again or whatever. And it's interesting because Luffy got the W once we were introduced to Gear 4th. And I'm out here thinking, all right, Gear 4th real stocky. He gonna be giving everybody Dragon Ball haymakers. Location switching haymakers. Just for him to like, not to say Gear 4th wasn't working against Katakuri, but it definitely wasn't dominating in the way that we thought it was gonna dominate. Katakuri was real smart, especially because he decided to break the fourth wall. Bro just decided, oh, you're not transforming here. We don't do that here. Why not? You gonna let your op get more stronger just for an old-fashioned fade? Now, we do know there's a man in orange who tends to let that happen. But then again, plot armor kicks in and, you know, he ends up being alright. Maybe. I feel that that mysterious figure that was at the beginning of Elbaph will probably be Luffy's final teacher, and I'm still under the impression, well, not impression, I'd say I still strongly believe that that is Scopper Gaban. I mean, someone in my comment section, I don't know, last week said that it might be Ben Beckman. I'm talking in the sense that the mysterious figure and the guy who smashed Shorty with the big moving on are one and the same. Still wondering how that worked out, but don't nobody want to talk about it. Yeah. Either Luffy getting a new teacher or somebody gonna smack fire out of him again. So yeah, this gonna be intense. Either way, if it is Ben Beckman, I'll believe it when I see it. Either way, let me know below. What did you think of last chapter? What do you think about the next chapter in terms of where we going next in Egghead? And honestly, I know we're not even in Egghead. You know what? Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll holler at y'all later, man. Peace!